Very important man joins us right now.
I can't hear you.
We'll try our best here.
There we go. We figured it out.
All right, that's better. Rhett Hobart. Does this entire title fit on?
Usually the more words, the better. So
Senior Associate Athletic Director for External Affairs.
There's a mouthful.
If your salary was $1,000 a letter, you'd be set for life.
That. I would take that.
So, what does that mean?
Oh, man. I mean, it basically means anything that's fan-facing is my area. Anything you think of on a game day that's not parking, that's not operations, that's not the play on the field.
He really wants to stress the not parking.
Not parking, especially going to the weekend. Not parking, not operations, but anything that's fan experience-facing, in-venue experience, basically trying to make sure that you want to come to the game and you have a good time while you're there. Simple terms how I would put it.
So how much has that changed? I mean, we talk often, especially when COVID came and people couldn't go to games anymore or were severely limited with how they could go. Is that a constant battle, and how do you fight that battle of people in the at-home experience and not coming anymore and those kind of things? What did COVID do, and how are you trying to fight against that?
I mean, I would tell you that even before COVID, it was getting harder. You know, it's interesting when you think about the biggest revenue stream of universities is TV revenue, but that's also so you got to have success there, but it's also your biggest competitor in driving people to come to your games. The easier it is to watch on TV, the more simple we make it, the better we make the TV experience by investing. It makes it harder if you get fans in venue. So, I think there was people who probably during COVID, for the first time in their life, missed coming to a game in a season. And they realized, you know what, there is some simplicity to having free parking and free concessions and a 50-yard line seat the whole time. But, from my perspective, what we try to play up is there's really nothing like the in-venue and game day experience. You can't get the tailgating. You can't get the band, all these things that make a game day in person. That's what makes it unique to come on your campus and watch a college football game.
Rhett Hobart, one of my favorite guys over at State. Wanted to ask you about these 3 games coming up, because this State's schedule this year has been a little weird, right? You had the first game, then a road game, 3 straight home games, road, bye, 3 straight home games. When you're talking about getting fans to the stadium, is it difficult to make them want to do it 3 games in a row?
Obviously, with Mississippi State versus Auburn this weekend at home, it's a start to a pretty big 3-game home stretch here. And next year's schedule is not much better. We have these broken up blocks. Generally speaking, when you see that, one game's going to suffer. You really have a hard time getting people, especially in a state like Mississippi where our fans are driving longer than anywhere else in the league to get to games. I think our average ticket holder for Mississippi State football drives like 90 miles to come to a game. There's not like that a lot of places. And so, game time is a big part of that for us. I mean, we see a pretty significant swing in scanned attendance for an 11 a.m. versus a 6 o'clock, for example. But a 3-game homestand adds to that. I mean, traveling to Starkville 3 times, it's hard for people. And so, we try the best we can to promote coming to all 3. But you're definitely, like in this homestand and in the first 3-game homestand, you're going to see one game that's lesser attended. ETSU's not going to have the crowd these first 2 halves. So. And
that game is streaming only.
Yep.
That's a game that allows you guys to sort of set the game time, doesn't it?
It does. That'll come out on Monday. So, we honestly, we lean heavily on football for that. We let the coaching staff give their input on what they need from a competitive advantage standpoint and what they
Mike
can
Leach
do.
Take that pick. 3 a.m. Let's go.
So that game's going to come out Monday with the other TV selections. So
how much conversation, because fans get really upset, understandably so, when they get that 11 a.m. kickoff. Eli Drinkwitz, for example, at Missouri said, we just got to deal with it. I know you don't like opening beers at 10 a.m., but you got to and just get over it. What can you or do you have any conversations with the networks about trying to get better time slots than that, even though the 11 a.m. games rate on television quite well?
TV values early kicks because they view the likelihood of you watching College Game Day or SC Nation staying on that channel. There's a lot of value in a good game following that, so you don't change the channel. So they value that heavily. But for us, I mean, it's challenging. We've had a lot of conversations about it, to be honest with you, about, some places work better than others. I'll tell you, for example, I just spent 2.5 years at Wake Forest. A noon kick is a lot different than an 11 a.m. kick, as much as that hour means. But in Eastern time zone, a noon kick is different. Not to mention, your fans at a school like that aren't traveling near as far as they are in Mississippi. You're much more, your fans are near to campus there. So a lot of conversations about it. And I would tell you, I think legitimately, an 11 a.m. kick versus a 6 p.m. kick is probably an 8,000 to 10,000 person scan swing for us. Wow. You're going to probably scan, and it's going to be a later arriving crowd. A morning kick, you're going to have a later crowd coming in. and it's going to usually make more bottlenecks to the gates, all those things that detract from your experience. But, the money's in TV, so that we got to have the good gig times for them too.
And now we've reached the point in the year where college basketball is about to start. You guys are running a promotion. I've seen the stuff around town today, tip-off week. What exactly is going on there?
4 games next week at home. So we've been trying to promote the idea for fans who are coming to town for this game against Auburn this weekend. Stay around for Georgia. Stay the full week. You can watch 2 college football games against conference opponents, and you can watch 4 basketball games. So we have 4 games starting Monday night. Men's basketball plays A&M Corpus Christi Monday at 6:30. The men play again next Sunday at 2, Arkansas Pine Bluff. And there's 2 women's games, Wednesday at 7 and then Friday at 5:30. The Friday at 5:30 game is a little bit special. We are doing a banner ceremony for LaToya Thomas.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a really neat deal. That game's earlier than normal because we actually have a linear TV broadcast with volleyball at 8 o'clock as well. So we've got 5:30 women's basketball and then 8 o'clock volleyball that night.
New men's coach, new women's coach. What's the excitement level, I guess, from a ticket sales standpoint?
There's a lot of excitement. The ticket numbers, I would tell you, are pretty comparable. Maybe we saw a little uptick this year. I think there is some nerves related to what's the experience going to be like with construction. From the beginning of this project, no matter what has been said out there in recent weeks, from the beginning of this project, there was always going to be a year playing through construction.
Right.
You look at the year we played through at Dudy Noble. Mm-hmm. Now, I would tell you outside and inside are a little bit different. You probably understand or are more willing to accept, an outside dirt on the concourse versus inside in the Coliseum. It's a little bit different playing in a construction zone, but our groups are doing an incredible job right now preparing. Just walked the concourse about an hour ago, making a lot of progress there. But there is excitement. You're seeing ticket sales. I think they're going to grow. I think next year we'll see a really nice spike when we open the new renovated Humphrey Coliseum. But I think there is a bit of patience going to be needed this year, understanding we are going to be a work in progress, and you may not have every restroom open, you may not have every concession stand open. It's going to be a different year than normal for the Humphrey Coliseum.
Obviously, we don't know what the big story at Mississippi State was this week. We're going to talk to Dr. Keenum in a little bit about that. The other big story is the explosive growth of the Bulldog Initiative, which is Mississippi State's NIL group, run by Charlie Winfield, who has his office right down the street. Picked up, I think, close to 900 members in this week. I mean, I say week, we're talking about 4 days. So that's a lot of money coming in. The university, is now is able to do more promotion of this NIL group. I saw today that there's another NIL effort that was put out by the university. How active are you guys going to be pushing NIL going forward?
I've had a lot of folks ask me this week about, what changed? Why the sudden push for NIL activity from Mississippi State this week? I'll tell you the truth of that is that the NCAA issued a new directive middle of last week that really changed everything about and made it less cloudy, more clear what we actually can do. There was, before that directive came out last week, there's been nationally a lot of question about how do you approach this? What can you as a school legally say to not get yourself in hot water? There are schools who pushed it more. Despite the gray area. We probably did not quite as much. But the NCAA directive last week basically said that the schools and school officials can be actively involved in promoting third-party partnerships, collectives, and honestly directing boosters directly to ways they can support student athletes. And so that changed everything for schools. I mean, there's no more gray area to can you do this. It's yes, you can, and go for it. So, we've done a lot this week. It's been a pretty active week in that regard, being this came out middle of last week. The end of the week was a little bit busy, and the start of this week was a little hectic. So you saw
that's one way to put it.
You saw some things start coming out, early to late middle of this week for that. And to your point, the Bulldog Initiative had an incredible week. I thought Bracky Brett, our interim AD, did a really nice job in a letter he sent out, I think Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, where he said, every year for years and years in the past, we have asked our fans to give financially for scholarships, facilities, projects, and we're going to keep doing that. But the world's also changing. 16 months ago, the world changed forever in college athletics. And we have to understand that now there is going to be a different thing we've got to ask for, and that is that our fans and our supporters also give to our collectives, and they're going to be able to support our student athletes. So to your point, I talked to Charlie this morning as well. Already 200 members today alone. Wow. Over 850 this week, and it's been over $1 million week for the Bulldog Initiative so far. So really, really solid interest. We're going to keep pushing it tomorrow at the Mississippi State versus Auburn game. Keep pushing it that way and driving people to sign up and be a part of the Bulldog Initiative. You can give a one-time gift or a monthly gift at bulldoginitiative.com. And then to your point, we did launch today another partnership through Open Doors. And that's a different deal. It's a direct to student-athlete partnership. If you want to make an offer to one student-athlete, you can go to the Open Doors Marketplace or support all athletes through the Bulldog Initiative.
It's a lot of changes. Things are different, but when you go and sit in your seat and watch the game, it's the exact same thing. Rhett Hobart at Mississippi State, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you all for having me.
Appreciate it.
And